Hi, welcome to Delightful Judaism, episode 1. Welcome to my journey. It's going to be the first podcast. This is something I wanted to do for a long time. It was a dream in my head, and lately a podcast is it's becoming a very popular thing. Like every second person is starting one. So I decided, let me give it a shot, see where it goes. So for my first episode, I had this idea of combating a certain YouTuber. Gonna give foreclosure here. His name is Andrew Gold. He's a Jewish guy. I don't think he comes from a religious background necessarily, but he's been doing a lot of interviews, podcasts, whatever you want to call it, on the hasidic community, but in a negative way. If you go on his channel, you see half the videos are interviewing people leaving the hasidic community, and he straight out calls it a cult and all that. So I'm here with my brother-in-law, Benjamin, or Ben. What do you want to be called? Benjamin, who is a great guy. You can get to know him a little bit over here, and he is actually a Baal Tshuva. So we're going to combat this trend of shitting on the Hasidic community. As you can see, he's a Hasidic guy. He's a Lubavitcher. So here we go. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Benjamin. I grew up as Ben. I'm still Ben, but I prefer my Hebrew name, Benjamin. And I was...
Ben is still your Hebrew name?
Yeah. Ben Aryeh Shol, my father.
That's your name? Your full name is Benjamin Aryeh Shol?
Benjamin Tzvi Ben Aryeh Shol.
Name is Benjamin Tzvi.
Yeah.
Your father's name Aryeh Shol.
So I was lucky enough to marry the best woman on earth, who has a brother, the best brother-in-law on earth, Pinchas.
Facts.
It's no cap.
Chaim.
Chaim.
Oh,
man. I'm honored to be on your first podcast.
Thank you for being on. Appreciate it. When I asked you originally, you said right away, yeah. So
yeah.
Thank you for that. Didn't make it hard to get. You know what I mean?
No.
Okay, let's jump straight into it. What age did you start becoming from? I don't mean starting to keep, but what age did you start the journey? Whatever. Like, when did it start? What age?
When I was in high school, I had an idea that I wanted to be a rabbi. And growing up Reform, in the Reform synagogues and Reform sort of traditions, that's really what I knew, I would say, the most. I did grow up going to Camp Gan Israel, and I was around Chabad, my whole summer, every summer, growing up as a kid, until I went to, 6th grade, something like that, 5th grade. But what I knew most was Reform, because every week I went to Sunday school, and every week I went to Hebrew school. It was twice a week, and so I interned. I had the ability to, my senior year of high school, to intern with my Reform rabbi.
Sorry, say it again. You interned with your rabbi?
The Reform rabbi that I grew up with, Rabbi Berkson.
Intern mean, that you were like his assistant?
Basically.
What age was this?
This was my 12th grade, my senior year in high school.
So like 18, 17?
I was 18.
So you wanted to basically be a Reform rabbi? At that point, I'm saying, you didn't know much. All you knew was Reform. So you're like, let me.
Yeah, and I explored it, and I just I got to spend, instead of just twice a week, I got to spend every day, my entire afternoon, and I got credits.
Well, what do Reform people do during the week? Like they do Shabbos, but they have mincha. What do they do?
No, there was nothing really going on during the week. It was just the office was open, and there's mailings that have to go out, and every here and there there's like a club or something that met So I helped with like some of the office duties, and the rabbi he's very, very busy. He was doing a lot of funerals and counseling with families. He wasn't really there, not to his discredit at all. It was not, he worked very hard. He just wasn't always around. When he was, I got to spend time with him, editing his weekly
Sermons.
sermons and newsletters.
These days, they just use AI.
Maybe. I don't blame them. Anyway, I had a few questions during that year that just were like in the back of my head, and whether I outright asked them
Questions on reform or in Judaism.
in Judaism, yeah.
But at that point, you respected the reform, or you like once you got more involved, was it like, hey, this is like BS a little bit? Was that the vibe you were getting, or at that point you were still respecting?
Towards the end of the year, the end of the internship.
So you did it for a full year.
Yeah. My younger brother, my only sibling, was
David.
that's a whole separate story on its own. How he became.
So his brother,
yes.
it's just him and his brother is also full Chabad and everything.
He's
a
a
shliach
of the Rebbe in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah. So the entire family, which is just two brothers, but still a whole family, is full-fledged Chabad. So you were saying
I was becoming more exposed at the end of that year because of my brother. Just like, this is. I was not myself from. I was just like from.
Your brother was from before you?
Yeah, I became more like religious before me. So I was starting to see like there's a certain passion that these black-hatted Jews had that I just it was not found in the Reform synagogue that I was there every day. And more I just had questions like, why are they not so passionate? Like, why?
Oh, so you had questions on the Reform movement.
Yeah.
What did you think of the concept of like, I just watched I was bored the other day and I watched a full YouTube video on a Reform show on Shabbos. And I never knew this. They do the full davening. They do everything. They do they lane the whole thing with the kriya and everything. Like, what goes into your head as a kid or whatever when you're like, they do it with the mic and everything. Was that normal for you?
It was normal.
Right. You didn't know anything else.
Yeah, exactly. So it was my own. I wasn't like even now. I'm not trying to think like badly on the people that I grew up with, or or the Reform or whatever. It's just I was exposed to a deeper practice of Yiddishkeit, and Baruch Hashem, I was exposed to that. And obviously, we have to thank the Rebbe for that, for sending shluchim and making sure that I was sent to Camp God Israel and Lubavitch nursery school as a little baby. So my parents did send me to those things. It was what everybody did. It was just the common.
So you had the seed planted as a kid.
That's it, exactly. So not everybody had those seeds, and thank God both of my parents are Jewish. I think that might have had a lot to do with it also in terms of
that helps,
seeds
yeah.
from a young age. But by the end of that year, like I was saying, I had questions, and the year ended. I was already, planning to go to college. I was, just preparing to move out of my parents' house and get a dorm for the first time. My brother really got more into it in that summer. He didn't have to focus as much on school. He was able to focus on his Yiddishkeit. And I, just being exposed, very on surface level through him, I went with him, I remember, to a Judaica store.
In Milwaukee?
In Milwaukee, right?
They have a Judaica store in Milwaukee?
Yeah, right in our neighborhood. And he wanted to buy a sefer, some book, I don't even know, maybe a pair of tzitzis. I went with him, no yarmulke, no nothing. And the rabbi there, it's not a Chabad, a Judaica store, which doesn't matter at all. The rabbi there is an amazing person, Rabbi Freilich.
The rabbi in the Judaica store?
Yeah, it's a shul. They have a Judaica store also.
Is it like for kiruv or business?
Yeah, both. But it's
still there?
It's very much. It's very much an outreach, shul for everybody. I think he's affiliated with Chafetz Chaim.
Chofetz Chaim.
But he's so I remember he met me, and when I went to that store that like first time, and he just said like, "What's your story?" So I told him. I felt like he wasn't judging me either, which was really like, I liked that. Like, I haven't really been around Lubavitchers or anybody really from since I was like middle school age, like from Camp Gan Israel. So now I'm, by this from, I don't even know the difference. I felt like,
Right, from person to from person. You don't know the difference.
I wasn't
Chabad
wearing
and
a
Chabad.
yarmulke, like nothing. He was just talking to me like he's like this guy. So he just said, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm going to college." And he said, "Oh, my
How old are you at this point? 20?
18, 19.
Still 19, 19.
He said, my colleague, my friend, Rabbi Meister, he has a group for Jewish students on campus, and this was going into my freshman year of college. That was the last year before any Chabad was on campus. So I started my journey, I would say, with Rabbi Meister.
Meister, the owner of Judaica?
No, even today, he has a very successful, going strong program for the Jewish students on campus.
Chofetz Chaim style.
Yeah. And it really, exposed me. I remember, I met with him and I felt like he was just so interested in me and he wanted to know me. Like, he didn't have an agenda. He wasn't trying to, make me more observant. He didn't, ever say, let's, make a bracha on this or do this. It was just I'm here for you. Tell me about you and tell me, and let's just learn Torah.
Right.
I'm a Jew, you're a Jew. Let's learn.
In general, the Litvish style kiruv, they don't really make you do mitzvahs, right? They just focus on Torah, and they want you to by yourself start putting on tefillin and keeping kosher. Is that the vibe or?
I don't know.
No.
I can say what my experience was, and my experience.
I'm just curious. Did he ever? How long did you when you started off? How long did you have a relationship with him? A year?
Yeah, I would say I have a relationship with him. I actually just spoke to him a few weeks ago. He called me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he flew in for our wedding here in Crown Heights. He flew in for.
Oh, you flew in for your wedding?
Yeah, I think he got one of the brachas under the chuppah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But within that year, did he ask you to put on tefillin or anything like that, or no?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
He definitely invited me for Shabbos and stuff.
Right. No, I'm not not in a bad way, but that's just that's the start. That's how they do it.
Right.
So you didn't even start off with Chabad. A lot of people the opposite. A lot of people start off with Chabad.
I did.
And
I would say there was an intermission because I went to Lubavitch nursery school and
as a kid, right.
And then
but as an adult, you start okay.
Yeah, as a young adult, and I'm still a young adult.
Sure.
So no, I remember he was asking me do you want to learn Chumash with Rashi? What do you want to learn with me? I was like, what?
What is that?
What? Are you speaking English? What are you talking about? And he said, oh, Rashi. He's the foremost, Torah commentator, and he gives the simple explanation, and there's so much depth to it, and there's gems in the Torah. I was like, there's commentators on the Torah. I had no idea. I was like, who spends their time to comment? That's the most boring thing ever. I had no idea. And so he had the art scroll.
Chumash?
The art scroll, in volumes of English Rashi, Hebrew English, and not even necessarily was it always on that week's Parsha.
You have it right here.
I do have it, yeah.
Oh, they focus on Rashi.
It's just Rashi, yeah. So, but it wouldn't necessarily be connected to the Parsha, but it would be like a Rashi on a pasuk, and he would have something really deep from his Rosh Yeshiva in Chafetz Chaim or something to expound.
So more like Eon, right?
Going really in depth in a Rashi, picking every word.
That's very interesting because Rashi, Chabad also we focus. The Rebbe liked Rashi a lot. The Rebbe said a sikha. Rashi is a very powerful person.
It blew me away.
So you were inspired by Rashi?
I was very much inspired by Chumash with Rashi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rashi was Mekarev Binyamin to Yiddishkeit.
And I can't thank Rabbi Meister enough how he so patiently sat with me and explained. I had so many questions. I'm sure it was
Shout out to Rabbi Meister. Is he on social media?
He is on social media, major.
What's-
Milwaukee Alliance for Jewish Reconnection.
Guys, check out Milwaukee Alliance for Jewish Connection if you live in Milwaukee, or
Yeah.
maybe you might find them interesting. Okay, so
It went from
at that
there.
point you were already becoming frum, and
Not really. So then I was learning a lot of Torah and trying to ingest it, and I was not living at home. I was living on campus. My brother was still in high school. He's younger than me, and he was like on his own journey. And I think that definitely gave me an
we'll have to get your brother on
on a
separately.
future podcast.
Or maybe both of you. We'll see. If this podcast is still around by then.
It will be.
For
I'm
sure.
So
Guys, I forgot to say, like and subscribe, and comment. Positive, negative, for now we can use anything, so just get involved.
yeah.
So, I just had this interesting question in my head. Did you have like a conversation with your Reform rabbi when you decided I'm moving on with you and I'm going into Orthodoxy? How's that like?
Kind of, not really, because I was sort of done. My internship ended. We said goodbye, and it was like, okay, you're going off to college. You're gonna go do your own thing now. So, adios, basically. And like, listen, I'm still here for you. I can be a reference. I can answer questions.
Did he know at that point that you were leaning towards being Orthodox?
I don't think so.
I'm just curious what his reaction was, like if it bothered him or something like.
No, he like, I could touch on it later. Remind me if I forget.
Okay, I'll try to remind you.
He's an incredible person.
All right, we'll get into that.
Thanks for writing it down. Yeah, if I forget to mention.
Whatever.
So Rabbi Meister was inviting me a lot to go for Shabbos, and I would go into the I don't know if flagship is the right word, but it's like a big Orthodox community on the west side of Milwaukee.
Is that the shul? Remember when we were there for Shabbos? There was like a shul right next to you.
No, that's
No.
a complete other side of town, where what I'm talking about. So basically from going there for entire Shabbosim, I remember, and I'm sure Rabbi Meister's kids remember.
So you spent Shabbos at his house?
Yeah, I would sleep there, and I wasn't the only one. I'd go with friends. It was a social, fun thing. Like
The Jewish friends.
yeah, my Jewish. We would go there, and we'd be there, and I would have my phone at the table on Friday night, and
Well, he didn't care.
and eventually, like, it took a while, probably like a few months, and eventually it was sort of just this like when in Rome feeling, like, you know what, I might as well go to shul Friday night. I might as well eventually go to shul Shabbos morning. Didn't mean I went for the entire davening, but I got exposed to like regular is no regular, but I got Orthodox davening. I never really had that experience of like, as an adult especially, in a shul. Camp was camp, and we davened in camp and stuff like that. We said psukim, verses, and cheers, and we benched and stuff like that. But like to be like in a shul like that, where there's like, it's not necessarily an outreach shul, so everybody there is like part of the community. They're like Orthodox.
This is Rabbi Meiser's shul?
It's not his shul, but it's the shul on that
Shul
side of town.
of Milwaukee.
It just blew me away. Like, I'm growing up, like everything is sung, even Kaddish. Like every little thing is sung, and it's
Right.
cantorial.
There's actually a lot of song when I was watching this YouTube video from the Reform show. A lot of songs they sing in Chabad houses. The Chabad houses take it from Reform shows.
I'm not sure. Maybe they take it from Chabad. I don't know.
It's interesting.
We're all Jews, but I remember I couldn't grasp how like davening worked. I was like, everybody's saying stuff at their own pace, and you can barely hear the chazan, and like what is going. I just like, and Rabbi Meister would always like. It's amazing now. Even now, I think back to it. Like during davening, how much I interrupted him and asked him. I didn't know any better.
Like ask him, what do I say now? What do I say?
Yeah, like, during davening, and like he had so much patience.
It's spiritually like being a kid at 19 years old.
Kid, it's like when they say Tinuk Shanishba, it's like goo goo gaga. I had no
But you did you know Aleph Beis at that point?
Yeah, I knew how to read.
You know how to read Hebrew.
Yeah, I
it's
knew
probably
how-
a little hard for you, I'm assuming.
No.
You could easily open a siddur and say the words.
Basically, because my dad's Israeli. I grew up with a lot of Hebrew.
But it's different though. Even Israelis, like they don't know, they can't open a siddur.
I'm lucky. I went to one of 3 public high schools in the entire Midwest that offers Hebrew as a foreign language, and I took it
Really?
all 4 years. And I invested myself in it. I was really fluent after my senior year.
How come they offer Hebrew?
There's a lot of Jews in my high school I went to.
Interesting.
Very Jewish area.
Never knew that there's an option like that.
I knew how to read, but the biblical Hebrew was very...
Yeah, biblical Hebrew is different. Yeah.
I eventually caught on to it, but I'm still catching on to it. But I'm just thinking back. Oh, so the point I'm trying to make is that it was slow exposure and sort of like when in Rome moments. Like, I'm anyway here, I might as well not have my phone at the table. I started to learn about not having your phone and stuff like that. So I was just like, it was small things, and I just was
baby steps.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I was consciously I want to be Orthodox, I want to be frum or whatever. It was more of just I'm going basically every week, and I enjoy going to this shul in this community for Shabbos. I'm going with friends that I enjoy. I'm enjoying the experience. Why?
So it was all like a positive journey. It wasn't like you had any issues as a child or
No, I had
rebelliousness, like a lot of how you.
All. I had a great childhood. And,
it was all positive.
Yeah, great parents, very supportive. Still.
And you along the journey, your parents were okay with everything you were doing, or did it come to a certain point where your parents were like, "Yo, relax"?
No,
it's
they
a
were
little
supportive the entire way. The entire way.
Very cool.
There was, I remember 1 or 2 strong moments where during certain conversations with them, and they struggled on the spot to hear what was coming out of my mouth. I want to go to yeshiva, for example.
They wanted to be okay with it, and just it was hard for them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but they had to take a deep breath and okay, I want what's best for you, and that's it. And it's incredible. Yeah,
that's very good, because there's actually we spoke about Andrew Gold. There's also did you ever hear of the show on Netflix called My Unorthodox Life?
I heard of it. I haven't seen it.
So that's also a very, very bad look for us, because there's a lot of lies and deceptions there. But in the second season, the only reason I like the show at that point is because there's one boy, the youngest one, who's still full from he's on social media and he has Dvar Torahs and all that, and they show on the show that he wants to go to a yeshiva where it's Limudei Kodesh 100%, and the mother is not letting it, and it's hard to watch,
right?
Because she, and he's and you can see on the show he's crying to her and telling you're leaving because you're saying that that you were oppressed as a kid, and you're oppressing me. So here it's good. Yeah, your mother, was okay with it, and because I'm sure you have friends where the parents were not okay with it.
Yeah,
and it was hard for them.
Yeah, and really, it was just a period of time of sort of subconscious decisions that I made that I didn't even realize I was doing it. Again, I was just going every week, and eventually
every week to Rabbi Meister's shir.
Shirim for sure I went to.
Shirim and Shabbos.
Yeah. No, so eventually there was an aha moment near the end of my freshman year of college where I was just like, wait a minute. I've been basically keeping Shabbos every week, and
so you were keeping Shabbos at this point.
Well, because I was going every week for Shabbos.
And when you would go, you would just not touch your phone or.
And eventually, yeah. So the aha moment was wow, I'm not really using my phone. I'm trying, I guess, not to turn on the lights or anything, and I'm going every week. And at that point, also, I had started just covering my head all the time. I wore a baseball cap. So then I was just like, why am I only keeping kosher when I go to that community for Shabbos? I'm a Jew. I should eat kosher all the time.
Right, like if it's MS, it's MS. It doesn't matter where. Yeah.
It's funny. I don't, if you would go back to me then and ask me like if I believed in God or what, I don't even know if I would tell you I believed in. It was just like
So
I'm a Jew,
all,
this is what I have to do. Like
right.
I was learning about Judaism and what Jews do, and
You were enjoying Yiddishkeit. You were having a good time.
yeah, and learning Torah.
Yeah.
And just like the Jews follow the Torah, and like the God stuff really came like after everything. It was like
the Yirah Shemayim. First it was like the Asay Toiv, and then it was like the Surmera.
So by the end of my freshman year, like moving out of the dorm and that the semester ended and going into the summer, I at that point, I took off my baseball cap and just wore a yarmulke.
Which team?
It wasn't a sports cap.
Oh, okay. Curious.
It was just a plain cap.
So you're a Brewers fan, right?
By default.
By default. Shout out to the Yankees, by the way. We're doing terrible, and we need help.
So I remember like everything was so slow in baby steps. I remember being in Qdoba with
Where's Qdoba?
Qdoba is it's like Chipotle.
A restaurant.
Yeah, it's like fast food Mexican style. And I'm in there and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't put the sour cream on my chicken burrito or whatever.
Shouldn't be basar v'chalav.
Right.
You know the joke of two hasidic guys that fried out. They go to a restaurant
And
the guy takes a bite of a big cheeseburger and he says, Baruch Hashem, so the guy says, what are you doing? You don't make a brucha, it's treif. He says, oh, Baruch Hashem, so yeah.
Yeah. And I think during that summer, that's when like I took more conscious steps. I was out of the dorm. I was looking for a place for to live for the next school year, and I was at home with my brother, who also like basically became pretty like observant throughout the past year.
And he was your brother, like also hung out by Rabbi Meister, or
a little bit later, but he really was.
So you guys did your own thing.
Yeah, he was hanging around Chabad in Bayside.
So he was with Chabad the whole time.
For the most part, he definitely has gratitude for Rabbi Meister and the West.
Do you think you would become frum if your brother hadn't become frum?
I don't know.
You never know.
Well, because if he wouldn't have gotten into it and he wouldn't have gone to the Judaica shop next to our house.
Are you saying it was all that Judaica shop?
I don't know. That's how I got hooked up with Rabbi Meister. That's where everything. Yeah. So during that summer, after my first year in college, I spent time a lot with my brother, and we like encouraged each other to like keep more kosher, and like we that summer bought our own like pots and pans, just a few kalim, basically a few dishes. We kept them labeled in our bedroom. Wow. Whenever we wanted to make anything.
Meat and milk.
Yeah.
Meat and dairy.
We would kosher up the stovetop and bring out our dishes, and we would wash them. Where did we wash our dishes? We washed the dishes like in the bathroom or something. Wow. And eventually, and my parents, like, they're so amazing. They eventually just got to be like, why are we doing this? Like, we'll just make that, like, we'll just be kosher.
Wow.
And
shout out to your parents, by the way.
Yeah. So
if they watch this podcast,
they will. We took it. I'd say an easy way out. A lot of the issues are with basar b'challah, with meat and dairy. Over here, we just made everything meat.
So you guys had it pretty easy in a way. That your parents,
They were very. They are very.
They from what I understand, they have even when you're not there, they have a full kosher kitchen at home. Like when they're home, they eat only kosher.
Yeah. Basically, since then.
So it's your sechus that when they're home, they eat kosher.
Yeah. And everybody really trusts it. Like I remember, eventually my brother got engaged, and we made a l'chaim in our house, and my parents' house, and shluchim were eating food that was cooked in their house. It was like,
wow.
My mom was like blown away, like, wow, like Chabad rabbis are eating in my house. Like, it was a big moment for her, and I'll never forget that. She was like really proud.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if they would eat by me.
Or me, but So then going into my second year of college, I was just that's.
What were you studying in college?
I never declared a major. I don't know. I went straight from high school after that internship with a Reform rabbi. I was interested in Judaism and learning.
You were learning Judaism in college?
Well, learning, sort of.
Interesting.
Through learning so much with Rabbi Meister, that was like my interest was piqued. So anything that was Jewish studies that I could take, I wanted to take. And I was just a freshman.
What kind of Jewish studies can you take in college?
A lot. But again, you're not always able to take everything because of what year you are. So
I'm just curious. Can you give me an example? Like what?
So some of my favorite classes were with Professor Tim Crane, who's an incredible person, and I did 2 classes with him. One was about Avram, Moshe, and Muhammad, I think.
Nice.
It was so interesting.
Was it based on the original Torah or the New Testament?
No, it's based on like history and data and science and whatever. But being exposed to the Torah perspective through Rabbi Meister, and for sure, my point of it was skewed. But
it's very interesting that you were in college, but your college was only bringing you closer to Yiddishkeit because you were just studying about Yiddishkeit. That's very interesting.
It can do that.
Wow.
It can do that. I mean, I'm not going to say that
Right, you wouldn't like want your kid to go to college, but at that time you took advantage of it. I don't know, maybe you want. I don't know.
Yeah, and
was he Jewish or?
No, he's not. He used to say he has a PhD in like Middle East conflict and other like Abrahamic religions or something. He's an incredible person. But the only I remember my sophomore year, which was my last year in college before I went to yeshiva full time. So my second year in college, I took a like Intro to Judaism course with a Reconstructionist rabbi, and it was really like just.
What's it's a conservative?
It's like below Reform, like
under even like more extreme than Reform.
Yeah.
Wow. I've heard the term. It rings about Reconstructionist.
So
how can he be more than Reform?
I'm not here to bash anybody. I don't know. They have I don't know. But
listen, I'm gonna be honest. I don't respect Reform people.
I do, but
I get it because you know.
I respect them.
If anything, they brought you closer to Hashem. So I guess you have. Yeah, is that what?
Yeah.
You have gratitude for it. Okay.
But what was I just saying?
So we were talking about I got sidetracked with college.
This professor. No, so at that point already, I graduated to finding out about Gemara and wanting to learn. And at that point, Rabbi Meister Talmud. So Rabbi Meister set me up weekly. It might have even been a few times a week with a chavrusa at WITS, the Wisconsin Institute for Torah Study, which is a high school and post-high school based medrash. It's a Chafetz Chaim school. It's right, like, basically on campus where I went to school.
There's a Chafetz Chaim yeshiva on campus?
It's at the edge of campus, like
it's catering for
not catering for campus.
It just happened to be there.
It's that's where it is.
What about that other organization? There's a campus organization. Hillel, yeah.
I was involved in Hillel.
You were involved in Hillel?
Yeah, sure.
They're like modern Orthodox, right?
No, it's everything. It's non-denominational officially.
I'm saying the founders, whatever, the people that run it.
I don't know.
Okay, so let's fast forward a bit. How did you get to Chabad? Because I know you had something to do with the Tversky, the Rebbe.
Yeah, I'm not such a personal relationship. I mean, I would say good Shabbos to him, and I ate by his house a few times.
Oh, I thought you had like something more than that.
No, not so much.
He's still there?
He is there, yeah, sure.
He's related to the Rebbe from Borough Park?
I have no idea. Probably.
So, okay, let's fast forward to... So you were in college, you were already basically becoming... You're saying you were already keeping kosher in your house, keeping Shabbos, pairing tefillin, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So when did you become Chabad?
So...
And what brought you to Chabad?
I spent a year in Israel at Or Sameach, and like a full calendar year. I left just before the year was over, or else I would have been stuck in the country and had to go to the army because I'm a citizen. I wasn't born there.
Because his father is a...
Right.
So your
but
father's
I was exposed to a lot when I was there. I used to go to Farbrengens at the Tzemach Tzedek shul in the old city.
But that was... You were able to relate to them? Because they were...
Not really. I davened every day in Karlin Stolen shul.
Stolen?
Which was close to...
The Rebbe was there?
No. Because the shul... The Rebbe is in Piskat Zev.
He lives like in his own shtetl or something.
Yeah.
I heard about it.
Yeah. I loved the davening. I still love the
By
davening.
Stalin?
By Stalin, I love it.
They are...
Loud.
They are... Every stone that you meet, like a heist stone there, they are hoarse.
They're hoarse, yeah.
It's not... It's crazy. They scream like nuts.
It's great. I really enjoy davening there. There was certain nusach. I don't know. I don't know. Speaks to me.
But they daven also fast. That's probably why you like it. They daven. They certain parts they do loud, and then they chip it up. They do
Nishmas on Shabbos, without exaggeration, could have been 10-15 minutes.
You know that you did nefesh?
There you did nefesh? No, I don't remember.
You did nefesh. Whatever. I went to Stone Camp for a summer, so I know a little bit.
Yeah, and so point is, I was exposed to just a lot of different things when I was in Israel. I really liked Stolen. I went to Farbrengens with Chabad, and I was exposed a lot, being in Or Sameach, to Yeshivishkeit and Litvishkeit.
Were they against Chabad in the places you hung out? I know Eish HaTorah there.
I don't know about Aish and Or Sameach. No. People, a lot of this, again, the students going there are coming from campus typically, and that they were involved with Chabad on campus, and they just didn't become Chabad. So what? Here and there you would hear a comment from a certain teacher. At the end of the day, it wasn't a big deal. I had straight up official permission, Rishus, from our Rosh Yeshiva to go and daven in Stolen every day, and to leave night Seder, to go to
Farbrengens?
like Farbrengens and Shirim. I would go. I remember going. Was it Thursday nights? There was another shir. Might have been. I don't know. Maybe it was a different. There was a shir in the old city. I remember on different chassidus and English speaking shir.
Chabad chassidus.
No, different stuff. So when I came back from Israel,
how long you were there for? A year?
I was there for a calendar year. Yeah. When I came back, I was like, "What am I?" I remember I was wearing Ashkenaz tzitzis.
Like Breslov tzitzis?
No, like just Ashkenaz. Regular
Ashkenaz.
Regular
woolen tzitzis?
Yeah, but Ashkenaz.
With the
No, not with that. Just plain wool, but the and so I had that. I was davening Nusach Sfard. I had Chabad tefillin. I had like this like.
You had payas? You told me.
I did. I had long payas.
You have a picture of yourself back then?
I do. I'll send it to you. You can show it.
Pull it up after.
Yeah. I had an ayeka, just like what minhagim do I keep? Where am I? What do I stick to?
You were already at the point where you were so frum that you had to find yourself a
derech. I needed a derech. And by that point, I'm essentially like frum for like 2 years, basically. My whole second year of college, and then that year in Israel. It's 2 years.
So 2 years from, and you were like, okay, enough tripping. Let me find, know.
I needed to settle down.
Yeah.
And that is when I ended up staying in Milwaukee that year, and I hung out with Chabad a lot. I was doing hashgacha.
With Rabbi, what's his name? Shmatkin.
Yeah, was he there? Yeah, he was there. Yeah.
What else? Who else is there? Chabad over there?
I had a good friend that was there at Farbrengens with a lot. I'm sorry. Let me turn my ringer off.
It's okay.
This is an inmate's brother calling me.
Yeah, he Binyamin. Besides for the Baal Tshuva journey, I wanted to talk to him about the Aleph. We're gonna get into that in a few minutes. He's one of the big what's the word?
Machers?
One of the big machers. And Aleph, if you don't know what it is, it's an organization where Chabad organization where they help out Jewish inmates. But okay, so you were hanging out with Chabad, and at what point did you decide to go to Morristown Yeshiva?
After that year. So I like spent the year in Milwaukee working, and I paid off, with my parents' help, paid off the 2 years I went to college.
So you're debt free.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, and you
don't need the money from Biden.
You mean from your pocket? Huh?
Exactly.
So I spent that year just really like exposing myself to Chabad as much as possible, and
so you were a year off yeshiva.
Right. I actually worked in a yeshiva. I like mentored Bachrim and.
Oh, you were already like a mentor.
Yeah.
Wow. In the Babich Yeshiva? Or?
Yeah, Hillel High School was the first year of the high school, and I like used to encourage the boys and learn with them. I remember learning Mishnah Sukkah with them and Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and
wow.
I schlepped them around and I took them to exercise, and I spent Shabbos with them, and yeah, I was the vecker in the morning also with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
The best job is to be a vecker.
Oh yeah. So. Throughout that year, I exposed myself as much as possible, and I went out of the way to. My Chabad came to campus my second and last year on campus. So the campus rabbi, I just pushed myself as much as possible. Spend Shabbos by him and ask him questions and learn with him, and by the end of the year, that's when it was okay, what am I doing this next year? And I was I need to go back to yeshiva. And I want to go to, but would I go back to Or Sameach? No, I was going to go to Chabad Yeshiva. I didn't know anybody at Morristown. I didn't have a chavrusa set up. I just had a ticket and went.
You went for it.
Yeah. And that's where.
And you loved it there.
I love it there, even now.
You love it, yeah, you do.
That's where I was there for almost 5 years.
And that's it.
And I met my chavrusa, that was my longtime chavrusa there. Ended up making our shidduch.
He made your shidduch?
We both got into shidduchim right at the same time, and he married the first girl he went out with, interestingly.
For him?
His wife
knew Hindi.
What is even still one of Hindi's, my wife, best friends from when they were in seminary together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So inside free shidduch.
They made the shidduch, yeah.
I don't know if we're going to have time to speak about Aleph. Maybe if you'd be willing to, we could do it in a different podcast.
Yeah.
Just had one question. After your whole journey and, looking back at where you came from, do you have a message to Andrew Gold? I know you probably didn't watch any of his stuff.
Never heard
Did you ever heard of Joseph Krause?
I haven't heard
So what triggered me about Andrew Gold was that he interviewed a kid named Joseph Krause. He's actually our second cousin. Just found out from the podcast because he mentioned that his grandmother is Baba Yitla. Baba Yitla was his name was Yitla Schwartz. She was on the New York Times when she passed away. She had 2,500 descendants, right. So it was a whole big deal. So oh shit, he's my cousin. So unfortunately, so what he is doing, he's obviously, it was a good opportunity for him to be on this podcast, on this interview, because he got a nice, 30, 40, maybe 50,000 views. He's just taking advantage of people like Andrew Gold that like to talk garbage on the Hasidic community for some reason. I'm not sure why, but that's just how they are. He's saying a lot of terrible things about Yiddish guy, cold and this and that. So I'm wondering if you have a message for someone like him, because you're in the opposite side of the spectrum.
Right.
What you could say to a kid like that?
I don't know if it's my message, but a message is no one is perfect, and therefore for sure no community is perfect. Anybody, even religious communities, people get a picture in their mind, this religious community, they stick to these ideals. At the end of the day, people are people, and the whole Shulchan Aruch, by the way, is about mistakes, right? Right? Theoretically, we should light a menorah this way. But what if I forgot and I did it this way? So now that's why you have a whole Shulchan Aruch, because we don't do things perfectly. Well, what happened? We're not supposed to mix meat and milk, but what if this and this happened? What if I accidentally did this? We make mistakes. We're inherently not perfect. And the only thing that is Hashem. But I'm getting off track. What I mean to say is, if we look at anything as if it's supposed to be this picture perfect, like heavenly Gan Eden like experience, then we get like shut off when we find out that it's not, and we want to say like, oh, the people that follow it like are just brainwashed, and like why would they believe in such stuff, and it's a cult, and
right.
They're starting on the wrong foot. You can't look at it as something which is all a bunch of perfect people and whatever. It's not. It's just, and it's important to look at people that way. And I think that's something for sure that the Rebbe encouraged, is to judge favorably and realize that we're human beings and that we do make mistakes, and we shouldn't judge people for those mistakes. We should judge them for who they are, which is a neshama. And that's how Hasidim can go on shlichus. It doesn't matter. Here's a guy with no yarmulke and he's covered in tattoos and he's smoking on Yom Kippur, but you can tell him with Yom Tif, you can remind him that it's Yom Kippur and to fast and whatever. The point is you don't like talk him down. You lift him up, because if we look that he has to be perfect, then who is this guy? What's he doing? He's a disgusting person. That's not a way to be.
The point is, Joseph Krause, if you're ever going to see it, we love you. And if you want to put on tefillin, we're ready to put on tefillin with you. And whenever you want to come back to Yiddishkeit, never too late. You can always do tshuva. Just try to be a little bit sensitive when you go on the internet and you talk to non-Jews, and just be more respectful. It could be that you had a bad experience, but it doesn't mean that you can't go and make headlines. Oh, the Hasidic community is a cult. It's just not right.
Something I didn't mean to interrupt you, but something that I wanted to say also is, I think that people making these kind of claims are so negative against the Hasidic community, or just observant Jewish community. I think it's because they think that it's like all or nothing. Also, like you have to daven the whole shachris, and you have to do this, and you have to, looking at it as like a bunch of rules. And at the end of the day, like what you have to do is put on tefillin. Okay, davening, we absolutely should daven. It's in Shulchan Aruch to daven. We have to daven. It's a mitzvah to daven. But like, I'm about tshuva. I started from nothing. I can tell you, like, each and everything is a precious thing. Like, you know how long I was just putting on tefillin without davening? You know how long I was then at a different point davening without tefillin? Like, each and every, it's not all or nothing. Just because you're not davening doesn't mean you shouldn't put on tefillin. Just because you're not putting on tefillin doesn't mean you shouldn't keep kosher.
Right.
It's all...
And you can still identify... I consider myself a Hasidic Jew, and I don't have pious, and I don't necessarily daven with a minute 3 times a day, but it's the idea. And just because and you grew up with a certain type of like extreme people, the truth. You know the truth that that's not everybody, and you're just using it to get clout or for whatever it is. Okay, and that's it. The point is, all the Jews, we should all be together. All at the end of the day, look past our differences and try to get closer to each other and closer to Hashem and bring Mashiach.
100%.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Binyamin.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Yep. Thank you.